Have you ever heard of the Anunnaki? For many, the name conjures images from ancient Sumeria, a powerful pantheon of gods ruling over humanity. But in recent decades, their story has taken a much darker, more sensational turn. They've been reimagined not as distant deities, but as extraterrestrial slave traders, genetic manipulators, and dimensional overlords who came to Earth to exploit its resources and its people. Today, we're not here to debate whether these claims are historical fact. Instead, we're going to explore something far more resonant, what the modern Anunnaki myth symbolizes. We'll look at how these stories, whether you believe them or not, serve as powerful allegories for systemic control, soul fragmentation, and the deep-seated commodification of the feminine principle. This is a journey into the symbolic underbelly of one of the most compelling modern myths. Let's start with the source. In original Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki were described as the divine offspring of Anu, the god of the sky, and Ki, the goddess of the earth. Their primary role was to maintain cosmic order and decree the fates of humanity. They were judges and keepers of divine law, not the intergalactic gold miners of popular theory. So, where did the idea of slave-driving aliens come from? We can trace this radical reinterpretation back to the 20th century and the work of author Zecharia Sitchin. In his series, The Earth Chronicles, Sitchin proposed that the Anunnaki were actually advanced beings from a mysterious planet called Nebiru. According to his theory, they came to Earth hundreds of thousands of years ago in search of gold to repair their planet's atmosphere. To make this massive mining operation possible, they needed a workforce. And so, they genetically engineered early hominids to create Homo sapiens, a slave race designed to toil in their mines. Now, it's crucial to state that Sitchin's theories have been widely and thoroughly dismissed by mainstream historians, archaeologists, and linguists. But that hasn't stopped his narrative from capturing the public imagination. It introduced a potent and disturbing distortion into the ancient myth, the idea of gods as architects of servitude. Our creators weren't benevolent deities. They were cosmic capitalists who engineered us for exploitation. This single idea planted the seeds for a much larger, more complex modern mythology. Within these new interpretations, a particularly dark theme emerges: the specific exploitation of the female. Some theories suggest that human females were not just part of the general labor force, but were specifically engineered for reproductive control. This is where the narrative gets even more unsettling, weaving in themes of forced breeding, cloning, and the creation of hybrid bloodlines to maintain control over generations. Again, let's step back from the literal interpretation. Whether or not you believe in alien breeding programs, these ideas resonate on a much deeper, symbolic level. They tap into a collective wound related to the suppression of female power and autonomy. The story of the enslaved female becomes a powerful metaphor for how patriarchal systems, throughout history, have sought to control and commodify women's bodies and their reproductive capabilities. It speaks to a theft of sovereignty, not just on a physical level, but on an energetic and spiritual one. When we view the modern Anunnaki narrative through this symbolic lens, they are no longer just literal aliens from another planet. They become a representation of the invisible systems of control that shape our world. Think of them as an allegory for systemic programming. Their role as overlords mirrors the impersonal, often hidden forces that limit our potential, distort our truths, and keep us feeling small and fragmented. In this framework, the idea of genetically engineering women is a stark symbol for reproductive sovereignty under siege. The theme of ritual labor and endless servitude becomes a metaphor for soul capture, the feeling that our life force, our very essence, is being drained by systems that don't serve our highest good. These are not just sci-fi concepts. They reflect the lived experience of many who feel trapped within societal structures, economic systems, or even personal traumas that seem impossibly large and controlling. It's a metaphysical horror story that feels uncomfortably familiar. But ancient myths also provide us with a solution, a counter-narrative of reclamation. And for this, we turn to the powerful Sumerian goddess, Inanna, who was herself one of the Anunnaki. Her story, particularly her descent into the underworld, offers a profound blueprint for reclaiming power. In the myth, Inanna chooses to journey into the realm of her sister, the queen of the underworld. To enter, she must pass through 7 gates, and at each gate, she is forced to strip away an item of her power and worldly adornment, her crown, her jewels, her royal robes. By the time she reaches the throne room, she is naked and vulnerable. There she is judged, killed, and her body is hung on a hook. This story could be seen as one of ultimate defeat, but it's not. It's a story of necessary surrender. Inanna's death in the underworld is a symbolic death of the ego, of all the external trappings of power. After 3 days, she is resurrected, not by her own strength, but through the help of others who honor her. She returns to the world of the living, not just restored, but transformed, having integrated the wisdom of the shadows. Inanna's journey is the perfect antidote to the Anunnaki narrative of control. Where they represent external domination, she represents internal sovereignty. Her descent is a path of confronting our deepest fears, our shadow selves, and the parts of us that have been suppressed or fragmented. Her return is a promise that by facing these dark places, we can reclaim our wholeness and our power. Her story teaches us that true strength isn't about avoiding the darkness. It's about walking through it with intention and emerging with greater wisdom. So, how do we apply this in our own lives? This analysis isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's a ritual of reclamation. When we understand the Anunnaki myth as a mirror for the architecture of control in our own lives, we can begin to dismantle it. By decoding these symbolic patterns, we expose the energetic scaffolding of oppression, both externally in the world and internally within our own consciousness. This process gives us tools for cleansing, for discernment, and for reclaiming our soul's sovereignty. The figure of the suppressed feminine, symbolized by the enslaved woman in the modern myth, becomes the resurrected sovereign, embodied by Inanna. The programmed body, engineered for servitude, becomes a reclaimed vessel for our own soul's expression. The horror of the story becomes a portal to profound healing. Engaging with the Anunnaki narrative means confronting the shadow of systemic entanglement. It means looking at the ways we have been programmed by society, by trauma, by inherited beliefs. It's not an easy process, but by applying layered analysis, ethical discernment, and ritual reframing, we can turn distortion into clarity. We can take a story of fear and control and transform it into a map for liberation. This isn't just about storytelling. It's about soul architecture. It's about consciously building a new inner reality based on freedom and wholeness. Let this exploration serve as a guide for all the travelers, seekers, and analysts out there who are navigating the complex territories of ancestral trauma and societal control. The Anunnaki myth, in its modern form, may have once symbolized enslavement. But through the courageous act of reclaiming our sovereignty, we have the power to rewrite the story. The final chapter is ours to create. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Until next time.